It's surprisingly easy to pick up relief pitching help at the trade deadline. The Twins didn't do that. Well, outside of getting Dylan Floral, but I mean a true needle mover. But I'm all in on this Twins pitching staff in October. Do you want to know why? I'm glad you asked. This is Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello again, and welcome back to Locked On Twins. I'm your host, Brandon Warren, and you can find me on Twitter at Brandon_WARNE. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, we're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As a reminder, please feel free to be active in the comments on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. We'd love to answer your questions, talk with you, hang out with you. Also, 2 post-game minutes available under the shorts column on YouTube. Now, today's show is brought to you by Sleeper Picks. Swing for the fences on Sleeper Picks, and you can win up to 100 times your money. Just download the Sleeper app and use promo code LOCKEDON, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. The site is currently operational in over 30 states. So run on over and check out Sleeper to see if you are one of those states. Now, Twins today will take on the Reds at Great American Ballpark. It is the second game of the series. It's a 5:40 first pitch, and it's Kenta Maeda against Fernando Cruz. Fernando Cruz is going to be opening, and it sounds as though Ben Lively will be the bulk guy. But with that said, if you want to catch every pitch of the Twins' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM, you can do so on the app. Just search Twins. Now, we get things started with our news of the day, and there's a lot of it to get to here, and we always like to relate it back to the Twins. Twins' magic number is 5, and it's a come-from-behind win that does so for the Guardians against Cleveland. So, don't look now. Cleveland has won Kansas City has won 5 of the last 6. So while they've been relegated to play the spoiler role, already have 102 losses on the season, it doesn't look as though the Royals are just going to roll over. And they score 4 in the 8th inning, 3 earned, all 4 charged to Trevor Stephan. And it's a Drew Waters double that drives home a pair late that is the difference. So again, magic number down to 5 for your Twins, and it's more a matter of when and obviously not if. Carlos Correa leaves early on Monday with a pop in his left heel, has played through pain, but this was worse than has been for most of the season. Now, what I've read about plantar fasciitis, and in this instance with Correa, is that rest will help, but he'll probably need a lot of it for it to heal up the best it's going to. Now, the complicating issue here is that he already took back-to-back days off. So the Twins are going to have to be careful with how they monitor his playing time down the stretch and all that good stuff. We'll see what that entails. Will that be multiple games off? Will it be a short IL stint? I don't know what all that means exactly, but we'll keep an eye on it. In the meantime, we know that he came out of the game early on Monday, very early, I might add, after chasing a fly ball out to short left field. So we'll see what that looks like moving forward, but the Twins are going to obviously be moving in a direction to have him ready for the postseason. Jordan Luplow designated for assignment by the Twins. Near as I can tell, that's just the second in-season DFA for the Twins this year. Kyle Garlick was DFA'd earlier, and in the spring training, in the spring, Twins DFA'd Trevor McGill. More on him in just a second. But Luplow DFA'd to make room for Michael A. Taylor coming off the injured list. Twins are going to be facing a bit of a 40-man roster crunch with pitchers like Chris Paddock, Jorge Alcala, and Brock Stewart due to come back. Now, Luplow could, in theory, stay in the organization. He could clear waivers, accept his assignment. He can decline his assignment, though. He has enough service time and all that fun stuff. But if he accepts it, he stays in the organization. And who knows? We don't know how things are going to change here over the next couple weeks before the playoff starts. He could still be, in theory, an option to come off the bench in October to maybe thump a lefty or two here or there. Baldelli twins made their grand entrance early this week. Nino and Enzo, a pair of twin boys, joining their sister Luisa and father Rocco and Allie. Fun fact, all 5 of them were born in the month of September. So very busy birthday month for the Baldellis, with Rocco and Allie still coming up here at the end of the month. Reds, DFA Hunter Renfroe. A couple things. Twins playing the Reds right now. But also, Twins could have been in the mix to claim Renfroe, or he may have made a lot of sense during that waiver frenzy that was kicked off by the Angels at the end of August. So Renfroe goes 5 for 39 with the Reds. Obviously not what the Reds were looking for in terms of an addition. So Renfroe DFA'd. And then they put, oh man, why am I missing the other guy's name? The other outfielder the Reds put on the injured list. I'm feeling like a real idiot right now because it's at the tip of my tongue and I can't remember. Well, I'll remember it by the end of the show. But anyway, the two outfielders. Harrison Bader going on the injured list. And so between those two, the Twins, would have looked to claim one or the other if possible, but nevertheless, getting away from it here. Former Twin Trevor McGill will be opening for the Brewers against the Cardinals Tuesday. So today, if you're listening to this on the day that it comes out, and if you haven't kept up with Trevor McGill, he's having a pretty nice season for the Brewers. The things he flashed last year for the Twins, the strikeouts, he had bit of trouble limiting walks. The whip was up there because he was giving up some hits. A lot of that has cleared up. Still a 1.20 whip, so not exactly an elite late inning option, but 3.13 ERA and 48 strikeouts against 8 walks in 31 2/3 innings. So really, really, really nice numbers for McGill, who will serve as an opener for the Brewers here on Tuesday. We're looking at the leverage of the spots because a lot of times too, with pitchers like McGill, they don't work in the toughest spots. In pretty similar for McGill here too. He's worked a couple of high leverage spots in September, but otherwise he's been mostly limited to lower leverage work. So not exactly your Yanier Cano level of disdain for this one. But yeah, McGill doing well. He will make a quote unquote start for the Brewers on Tuesday. Luis Arraez picked up his 200th hit of the season on Monday, joins Ronald Acuna Jr. as the only 2 in the NL to do it this year, and actually the first since Rockies outfielder Charlie Blackmon did so in 2017. And finally, Adam Wainwright picking up win number 200. Now, that doesn't have that much to do with the Twins, but why not celebrate a guy winning game number 200? And it's not as though he got his last 2 via pushovers. Quite the opposite. Beat the Orioles last Tuesday and then 7 scoreless innings against the playoff-bound Brewers in a 1-0 win. So Wainwright, who is retiring at the end of the season and has really, really struggled, gets a couple of nice wins, neither of which were cheapies. Now, before we come back for the second segment, I want to mention that the second segment, we will be talking about the Twins starting staff and what I'm expecting from them in October, because I believe that they are, as we would say, #built for October. Now, our first sponsor we want to talk about today is Jase Medical. Modern medical care and treatment are important, but our global supply chains are fragile. Things like pandemics, natural disasters, and foreign travel may cut you off from the treatment you need. Jase Medical is your solution. Just fill out their online form, and one of Jase Medical's board-certified physicians will review it to determine whether your medications are safe and appropriate. Then Jase will send your prescriptions to one of their partner pharmacies, where your order will be filled and then mailed directly to your home. You can also send your physician a message for answers to treatment-related questions anytime. Everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. That's why Jase Medical offers the Jase case. I got my Jase case coming. How about you? Save more than $360 getting these life-saving antibiotics with Jase Medical, plus an additional $20 off by using my code LOCKEDON at checkout on jasemedical.com. That's jasemedical.com, Jase medical.com. I have my Jase Medical box coming. How about you? All right, so we are coming down to the bullpen, and it's kind of funny. We called segment 2 the bullpen, but we're actually going to be talking about the starting rotation heading into October. And I think that first we got to talk about first, thank you for making us your first listen every day. That's Locked On Twins, your first listen every day. We're still working on a few things coming up here, but we are going to have a crossover with Jeff Carr of Locked On Reds to wrap up the series Wednesday afternoon. So that should be a lot of fun. Twins Reds at the Great American Ballpark, the Great American Launch Pad, 5:40 p.m. It's going to be Kent Maeda against Fernando Cruz. Cruz opening, probably Ben Lively working as the bulk guy. You can catch every pitch of the Twins hometown broadcast with Corey and Danny, although sometimes it's not Corey with football season going on. With the SiriusXM on the SXM app, just search Twins. Now, there's a few things to talk about with this Twins pitching staff down the stretch and into October. I think we can all agree in some order that Pablo Lopez and Sonny Gray will start games 1 and 2 of a playoff series. Assuming there is a game 3, because the first series is best of 3. That's where it gets kind of tricky. Now, I want to dive in first to who I would have start game 1. And I'm not going to be like real sticky about one or the other. I think I would start Pablo in game 1 and Sonny in game 2. But I think you could look at it a couple different ways. With Sonny, you're maybe not expecting as long of a start. Now, in the postseason, starts by definition are not going to be as long anyway. But how the Twins will manage these guys is going to be interesting, because Lopez has obviously been the one who's more capable or more likely to go deep in games this season. And I think that's why I would probably have him start game 1. And I also just think, I don't know, I feel like I trust him maybe just a little more. But again, I'm not going to argue. If you have an opinion, please feel free to leave it. Either send it to me on Twitter at Locked On Twins, or leave it in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. Now, when it comes to game 3, now Joe Ryan pitched, and he wasn't particularly good against the Reds. Twins lose anyway, but there's something I want to focus on with Joe Ryan. Now, a lot of people are hung up on the fact that he's got an ERA of almost 6 in the second half. Well, I want to really get down to what it's looked like since he's come back from his groin issue. So August 26th, he missed a little over 3 weeks, comes back. He's made 5 starts since. He has exceeded 100 pitches just once, and it was against Tampa Bay in a 3-2 win on the 12th, so a week ago today. But he's been 5 innings, 6 innings, 4 innings, 4 2/3, 5. And fans are like, well, that's not enough depth. That's averaging fewer than 5 innings a start, none of which is false. Ryan has a 3.65 ERA over that span. Opposing batters have hit to a 739 OPS. He hasn't allowed more than 1 homer in any start of the 5 since his return. Why I'm not as concerned is, first of all, this is a good Reds offense that he got hit by. The Rays offense, good offense. He did do well against Texas in back-to-back starts, combined 11 innings and just 2 earned runs. To me, that's encouraging because the Rangers are right in that mix. And again, a very, very good offensive club. But the Twins are not pushing Ryan that hard. Again, though, I think fans are being a little too reactionary with how he pitches every single game as a determining factor of if he's going to be the third starter in the postseason. One, I think he's going to be the third starter just because I don't know that there's a better option. 2, I just think that the fact that they're not pushing him doesn't matter that much because postseason starts are by definition, like I said, shorter than they are in the regular season. So these starts, he's averaging between 4 2/3 and 5 innings per start. That's about what I expect the Twins to try get from him in October anyway. So I think what they're doing in essence is backing off while helping him, kind of get back on the bicycle after the groin thing. While at the same time, realizing that there's no real need to push him that hard if he's locked into that number 3 spot, like I think he is. And there's other reasons why, and we'll talk about that in the upcoming segment as well. But you'll have to monitor his velocity. There was more 92s, 91s. The velocity didn't hold very well late into his start on Monday. And again, that's part of why probably they're not pushing him as hard as I think fans might like to see at this point in the season. Again, too, the fact that the division's more or less wrapped up really negates the need to do anything like that. But again, I think Joe Ryan is the game 3 starter. If it's the game 3 and it's game 3 do or die in the first series, then I think the amount that they'll let him go, if he gets into trouble, is going to be much shorter than if it's somehow game 1 of the next series. Although if it's game 1 of the next series and we don't know how much time will be off, there's going to be a lot of things that can change. But for me right now, I'm not going to put him in Sharpie, but maybe erasable pen that Joe Ryan is going to be the third starter for me in the postseason. Also, too, it will leave a lot of room in the bullpen for what I think fans may not be thinking about enough in terms of what a playoff staff looks like. I'm pretty enthused about it, more so about the bullpen. But again, you see what I see with postseason rosters, and this, I come back to 2019. You look at, if you were to look at the season pitching numbers of the Twins and the Nationals, very similar in terms of WAR and all that, where the Twins couldn't touch the Nationals was top level pitching. And so even though the Twins had a similar amount of collective Fangraphs WAR as a staff, they didn't have the Steven Strasburg, Patrick Corbin at the time, Max Scherzer, etc. The difference is, and this is why season-long WAR doesn't really work for postseason analysis, is rosters condense. What that means is there's no 5th starter. There's not really a long reliever in October. Now, again, if you get down big in a postseason game and you need to soak up innings, that happens. It's something that has to happen if the team's getting beat. You can't just quit. But again, the rosters shrink in the sense that there's a focus placed on the players on the field at that moment. There's not going to be as much maneuvering as far as, it's just basically your best guys face their best guys is probably the easiest way I can describe it. And so what I like about that from the Twins standpoint is they're built better this year than they were in 2019 and, of course, 2020, because they do have starters that you trust in October. I mean, trust in October is a scary thing, especially as a Twins fan. We know the history. But it's not as though you're going in there with Randy Dobnak, for instance, a bad example, but an example nonetheless. But even Jake Odorizzi had his limitations as far as, third time through the order. He lived and died with the fastball up. Yankees were a good fastball hitting team, et cetera, et cetera. I just think that none of those guys are anywhere close to Pablo Lopez, probably not even Sonny Gray. And if we're honest, probably not even Joe Ryan. So for the Twins to be in that position with this rotation, to me, is extremely exciting. Now, when we come back, we are going to talk about this bullpen because it's the bullpen that I am most excited about come October. Now, we do have to talk about our friends over at Sleeper. We've been talking about Sleeper here for a little while now, but if you want to get in your picks, if your season-long fantasy baseball team is cooked, and I promise you mine is, so this is the kind of thing I'm looking at, you have a chance. You can use Sleeper app to give you a chance to win 100 times your cash on daily fantasy baseball. So again, season long, out the window. You still got time to do this. Baseball has never been more exciting. We've got young studs, Ronald Acuna Jr., Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani. I always do that wrong, although he's now gone home, and we're looking at more young guys elsewhere, but still going to be AL MVP. Now, if you want to pick those guys' stats on a given night, maybe you think they're going to hit a homer, maybe you think they're going to have 3 RBIs, maybe you think they're going to strike out twice, or a pitcher's going to strike out 10 batters, you can choose higher or lower. And if you're right, you get payouts, you get multipliers. It's so much fun. If you have a really good feeling about, let's say, a Twins hitter against Fernando Cruz or Ben Lively, you can choose, +1 hit for, Donovan Solano, or if you really think Alex Kirilloff is swinging a good lately, you can do that as well. Whatever you do, you go on the Sleeper app, you use the promo code LOCKEDON, that's all caps, and you'll get $100 match, up to $100 match on your first deposit. So terms and conditions do apply, but you can see Sleeper's terms of use for details. It's available in 30 states, so check out if you're one of them. Just run on over to the Sleeper app. You'll be glad that you did. Okay, we are coming down the home stretch here into the 7th inning stretch. Twins Reds game number 2 of the series. It's going to be King Kent and Maeda at 5:40 p.m. against Fernando Cruz at Great American Ballpark. Cruz opening, most likely going to be followed by bulk guy Ben Lively. You can catch every pitch, though, of the Twins' hometown broadcast with Corey and Danny on SiriusXM. Just download the app and search Twins. Now, the bullpen, again, Twins did not make any moves. If you like Dylan Floral, that's your prerogative. If you're a Floral family member listening, hi, thank you for listening and keep doing your thing. But the Twins more or less didn't do anything at the deadline pitching-wise. And at the same time, though, I'm extremely enthusiastic about this bullpen, even though the average fan is not. And to say the average fan is not is an understatement. But my excitement is twofold. I think they have enough guys who work traditional bullpen roles to have a good foundation for a postseason bullpen. Now, that isn't to say that these guys haven't had their warts, haven't had their hiccups, don't have the possibility to give up a massive demoralizing home run in October. But you've got Joan Duran as the fireman closer. Griffin Jacks, when he's right, has been a very, very good late inning reliever. Caleb Thielbar, now healthy, has been an asset. Brock Stewart making his way back. He's due to start a rehab with AAA St. Paul on Tuesday. Also is Jorge Alcala and Chris Paddock, as well as Nick Gordon, who is already there. So lots of guys circling the wagon to get back with the big club. Will make a lot of roster decisions interesting, intriguing, and most likely difficult. And then Emilio Pagan. So you run 5 deep with traditional bullpen guys, the ones you give an inning, and you may look to see who they're going to face in terms of, if you bring Thielbar in there, is there a lefty on the Rays, for instance, Low or Lau or both. You've got Stewart, who can fire BBs, assuming he's healthy. Again, traditional bullpen roles, the things that we get used to in the regular season. Now, a playoff bullpen requires creativity. It's not the same as the regular season. You're not managing for the long haul. And that's why starters go 4, 5, maybe 6 innings. If you really get a Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, legendary Bulldog type, that's when you start talking 7 innings plus. So what a playoff bullpen requires in creativity and where I think the Twins are well set up is long guys who can be weapons. Now, the first one I want to talk about is Louis Varland. Now, Varland has come back as a reliever and is throwing the living crap out of the ball. High 90s. His secondaries are good. He's getting swings and misses. He looks like he is a completely different pitcher. I am extremely excited about Louis Varland. I think that move to the bullpen could reap massive dividends. Every year in the playoffs, there's a breakout star or two, or even a few. Like we talked about this with the Rays guys last week, Randy Arozarena type breakout. I'm not saying it's going to be Varland for the Twins. It's hard for a pitcher to do that because they don't play every day. But Louis Varland could be a playoff darling just based on what we've seen so far since he's come back to the big leagues. Kenta Maeda is another guy who, he's pitched a ton of playoff baseball with the Dodgers and out of the bullpen. He's healthy, so it's not going to be experimental. If they would have put him in the bullpen to start the season, that's a lot different coming off Tommy John. He's had a full, more or less season. I know he's on the injured list for all, but he's pitched to this point of the season to where you don't have to question of if he's healthy or not. Again, another option there. Bailey Ober, he hit his innings cap. He took some time off, went down to St. Paul, made a start, and has come back. It looks as though he's going to stay in the rotation. It looks as though Dallas Keuchel is the odd man out. He worked long relief on Monday, so the Twins will keep him probably in that role down the stretch here. But if Ober is not the third starter, which, I don't have any argument against it, and if the Twins need a fourth starter, sometimes teams roll 4 deep in the postseason, he could be that guy. But Bailey Ober in short bursts coming in to give you a different look, especially if you go, let's say, Pablo Lopez, then Caleb Thielbar, and then you go to Bailey Ober, you're going to get a different look each time. You can mix and match. You can use him to, maybe there's a hitter or two on that team that struggles with high fastballs. That's your guy right there. So Ober, you're not going to really ramp up his workload if you put him in that role, but he could be very valuable. And then finally, Chris Paddock. Paddock is making his way back from Tommy John surgery. Again, rehab ramping up to the point where he's going to be at AAA St. Paul here starting on Tuesday. And I think he could be another option to come out of the bullpen. The stuff looks good. There's really not a need for rotation help. And frankly, it's not something you'd probably put on a guy at this point. A comparable situation is John Means back with the Orioles. He actually made a start on Monday, but number of different places saying not really sure what his role is in the postseason for the Orioles. So we'll see what happens there. But Twins have 5 guys with traditional bullpen roles, assuming they're all healthy, 4 guys who could be weapons. And then the rest, you actually have some intriguing guys who could fill in. Cody Funderburk from the left side, he's really flashed at times this year. They've tried to give him some bigger spots, and the first time it backfired thanks to Cole Calhoun, but we'll see where it goes from there. But you got Jorge Alcala coming back, Josh Winder, who's had some pretty good moments at times, Brent Hedrick, Dallas Keuchel, if you wanted someone to come in and try to get a double play in a small, tiny little sample, I could see it. Dylan Floro still around, and then Jordan Balazovic has had a few small moments here in the big leagues this season. Honestly, I think they go 9 deep with those guys if they're all healthy, the top 9, the traditional and the long guys. And then we'll see what they do with the rest because, I think you can make a case for some of these guys. You're not making a case for Balazovic, probably not Keuchel or Hedrick, and probably not even Winder or Alcala, but they're options. The Twins have guys they can call on and feel good about. So, guys, I am just jazzed up for this Twins postseason pitching staff. I don't know if I've ever been able to say that. Probably not. Maybe 2006. But not many of you, I suspect, were old enough to be around for 2006. But nevertheless, it's what I'm excited for, and that's that. This is it for today's episode of Locked On Twins. Make sure you follow us at Locked On Twins, at Locked On Minnesota, at Brandon_Warren. Make us your first listen every day because we appreciate that very much. Click like, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. 5-star reviews on your podcast platforms and all that good stuff. Now, with that said, we will catch you on the flip side Twins Reds this evening. We will be with Jeff Carr of Locked On Reds on Wednesday afternoon to do a series recap. But in the meantime, it's been good to hang out with you. And don't forget to stop by